Caitlin Clark was in the middle of USA Basketball's training camp preparations when a move that should have been simple, assigning jersey numbers, exploded into controversy. Officials reportedly demanded she give up her iconic number 22, offering her number 17 instead. For Clark, who built her entire identity, brand, and influence around 22, it wasn't just a number. It was who she is on the court. Her response was immediate and firm. Change the number, and she'd walk. What followed wasn't just a standoff about digits stitched on the fabric.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
It became a flashpoint for a deeper issue, one where legacy, recognition, and athlete respect are routinely challenged by outdated structures trying to reassert control. Clark's resistance isn't about ego. It's about drawing a line where lines have never been allowed. This confrontation didn't just stun her teammates. It drew attention to the long-standing culture of marginalization in women's sports. Forcing a generational icon to choose between her identity and her national team spot shows just how far institutions are willing to go to remind players who's in charge. But Clark flipped the script. She made it clear that influence isn't dictated by federations anymore. It's earned, built, and protected by the athletes themselves. Her number wasn't just on trial. The entire power dynamic of women's basketball was 2. Caitlin Clark just said no to Team USA, and not quietly. We're talking about one of the biggest names in women's basketball, arguably the name right now. A player whose jersey sales, highlight reels, and crowd numbers have blown past long-standing records. And yet, when it came time to step onto the global stage with Team USA, the organization told her to drop the number that's been stitched into her identity since day one. Number 22. Her number, her brand, her legacy, gone, replaced with 17? That's not just a change. That's a slap in the face. And Caitlin Clark wasn't having it. Sources say Team USA attempted to assign her a new jersey number, allegedly number 17, during preparations for the USA basketball training camp. No explanation, no discussion. Just a quiet little reassignment. As if it didn't mean anything. But if you know Caitlin Clark, you know her number 22 isn't just a random digit on a jersey. It's the digit. The one that showed up on every court she dominated. The one fans chant. The one you see on murals, billboards, viral memes. Her number is a symbol of everything she's built. And Team USA thought they could just reassign it? Clark responded exactly how you'd hope a powerhouse would. She reportedly threatened to walk away from Team USA altogether if they took it from her. Number 22. No, Caitlin. That wasn't a tantrum. That was a statement. A line drawn in permanent. Now the internet is on fire. Basketball fans, analysts, former players. Everyone's got something to say. And it's not just about the jersey anymore. It's about what this moment represents. A power struggle between one of the most influential athletes in the world and the institutions that still don't know how to treat women with respect. The timing couldn't be more tense. This isn't just training camp. This is Team USA prepping for international play, Olympic-level stakes, legacy-defining opportunities. And yet, instead of celebrating one of their brightest stars, they've triggered what might be the biggest crisis in the history of women's basketball. And for what? Control? Ego? Some unwritten tradition about jersey assignments? Whatever it is, the move to strip Clark of her number isn't just unnecessary, it's wildly tone-deaf. The backlash is loud and it's growing, because this isn't just about a number. It's about power, identity, respect, and if this sounds familiar, it's because we've seen it before, over and over. Clark's exclusion from the Olympic roster earlier this year already raised eyebrows. She's one of the most marketable athletes on the planet. She fills arenas. She breaks viewership records. But when it came time to name Team USA's lineup, she was nowhere to be found. And now that she's finally been invited to step into the red, white, and blue, they want to start by erasing the number that made her iconic. It's giving petty. It's giving territorial. And it's giving let's humble the new girl energy. Let's be clear. Clark isn't just a great player. She's a cultural force. She single-handedly brought millions of new eyes to women's basketball. The WNBA's numbers are up. Merchandise sales are exploding. Highlight reels featuring her logo range threes rack up millions of views in hours. And every single one of those plays ends with a 22 flying across the screen. But apparently, that doesn't carry enough weight with Team USA. The number 22 has become a part of Clark's brand. It's not just sentimental, it's strategic. Athletes build empires around their numbers. From Jordan's 23 to Kobe's 24, jersey numbers become trademarks. And in the era of personal branding and nil deals, that number isn't just part of the uniform. It's part of the business. So when Team USA allegedly told Clark to switch to 17, it wasn't just a suggestion. It was a challenge, a subtle way to put her in her place, to remind her who really runs the show. But this time, the show might not go on without her. Clark's response, threatening to withdraw, shook the entire conversation. Because it's not just about her playing time. It's not about court minutes. It's about principle. She's not willing to compromise her identity to please an outdated system. And that refusal? That's what's resonating. It's exposing a deeper fracture in how women's sports are handled. The power dynamics. The quiet silencing of influence. The way institutions attempt to control athletes under the guise of tradition. We've seen it before and we're seeing it again now with one of the sport's brightest stars. What's worse is that the number isn't being reassigned because it's already taken. It's just being withheld. Why? Who knows? Maybe someone in the organization didn't like how much attention Clark brings. Maybe they thought this would be a way to level the playing field in the locker room. But if that's the strategy, it's backfiring spectacularly. This controversy is now a national story. Fans are outraged. Media outlets are dissecting every angle. Comment sections are flooded with support for Clark. And Team USA? They're left scrambling, looking like the villains of a sport that desperately needs unity and momentum. The irony is that Clark was supposed to elevate Team USA. Her presence alone could have reignited global interest in women's basketball. Instead, they've sparked a PR firestorm. And let's not forget the bigger picture. Women athletes have been pushing for recognition, equality, and respect for decades. And when someone like Caitlin Clark, someone who checks every box of excellence, influence, and appeal, gets sidelined or silenced over something as symbolic as a jersey number, it sends a chilling message. The issue here isn't logistics. It's systemic. This is part of a pattern. Undervaluing women athletes, downplaying their influence, failing to protect their identities. And when you treat someone like Clark, who's done more for the visibility of the sport than entire marketing departments, with this level of disrespect, you're not just losing her. You're losing the trust of fans. You're alienating a generation that's watching how these institutions treat their heroes. Clark's decision to stand her ground is being seen by many as a watershed moment. It's no longer just about getting her number back. It's about changing the way these conversations even happen. It's about athlete autonomy. It's about saying, you don't get to rewrite my legacy just because I walked into your system. And if Clark walks away from Team USA over this, the backlash will be historic. The organization could lose not just a player, but the momentum, audience, and cultural capital that comes with her. Because wherever Caitlin Clark goes, eyeballs follow. If she decides to sit this one out, the headlines won't be about who's on the court. They'll be about who isn't. And that spotlight, that's earned. That's not entitlement. That's what happens when you put up record-breaking numbers and still get told to step aside. At the heart of all this is a deeper, more frustrating truth. Women athletes are still being asked to shrink, to compromise, to accept less than they've earned. And this jersey debacle is just the latest example. But Clark's refusal flips the script. It shows that today's athletes know their worth. They're not just grateful to be there. They're not afraid to speak up. And if the system isn't ready to respect them, they'll challenge it. Publicly. Fearlessly. That's the energy this moment needed. And that's why people are calling it the biggest crisis women's basketball has ever seen. Because it's not just about a number. It's about everything that number represents. So what happens next? Does Team USA backtrack and return number 22 to its rightful owner? Do they double down and risk losing the most talked about athlete in the game? Either way, the damage is already done. They underestimated her. They underestimated what that jersey means. And now, they're finding out what happens when you try to sideline a superstar without realizing she's the one filling your seats. Clark's message is clear. If you want her on your team, you have to take all of her, number 22 included. And if you're watching this whole saga play out thinking, wait, are we really doing this over a jersey number? You're missing the point. This is about power, identity, respect. And Caitlin Clark just made it crystal clear. She's not here to play by outdated rules. She's here to rewrite them. If you've been yelling at your screen through this entire video, drop your thoughts in the comments. Should Clark stand her ground? Did Team USA blow it? And what would you do if they took away your number after everything you've built? Like the video. Share it with someone who's been following the drama. And subscribe for more deep dives into the meltdowns, misfires, and PR chaos that make the headlines worth watching. Because in today's game, the drama off the court might just be louder than the scoreboard. All right, so let's keep unpacking the mess that is Caitlin Clark versus Team USA. The jersey debacle. Because, yes, it is a mess. A high-stakes, brand-risking, headline-generating mess that nobody saw coming, and somehow everyone has an opinion about. Let's go back to the core issue here. A number, 22. 2 digits, stitched on the back of a jersey. To the casual observer, that might seem small, trivial even. But in the world of sports, especially modern sports, it's anything but. For Caitlin Clark, 22 is not negotiable. It's the number she's worn through record-breaking college seasons, the number that became a symbol of her ascent into the WNBA, and the number her fans wear with pride. It's a thread connecting every buzzer beater, every logo 3, every viral moment she's created. So when Team USA told her she had to give it up without a solid reason, mind you, it didn't read as policy. It read as pettiness, as a subtle way to knock her down a peg. Now here's where things get even more awkward. Clark's not even asking for special treatment. She's asking for consistency, respect, recognition of what she's done and what she brings. But instead, she's met with this weird mix of passive-aggressive institutional behavior. The kind that says, yes, you're welcome here, but not too loudly. The thing is, Clark's presence is loud. She doesn't just play basketball. She moves culture. She shifts the narrative. And for some reason, that makes certain people deeply uncomfortable. Let's talk real talk. This reeks of a power play. It's the kind of thing you see when an old-school system meets a new kind of athlete, one that isn't just talented but influential, marketable, and media-savvy. And instead of celebrating that, the system panics. It tightens the reins. It reminds a player who's in charge. Which brings us to this bizarre attempt to reassign her number to 17. Why 17? No one knows. It's not iconic. It's not meaningful to her. It's just random. That's what makes it feel intentional. Like they picked the most neutral, forgettable number on the rack just to say, don't call the shots here. But here's the twist. Clark does call the shots. Not because she's arrogant. Because she's earned it. And fans are backing her up hard. Social media lit up the second the story dropped. You got sports analysts calling out the double standards. Retired athletes weighing in on how women in sports are constantly expected to play nice, even when they're being disrespected. And regular fans, especially young girls, watching in real time as one of their heroes gets sidelined over a number. This isn't about ego. It's about precedent. Because if Clark can get undermined like this, what does that say to the rest of the league? What does it say to the next generation of players just starting to dream big? That your identity is disposable? That even if you become the face of the sport, you're still expected to quietly? And let's not pretend this is happening in a vacuum. There's a long, frustrating history of women athletes being undervalued, overlooked, or outright snubbed. Clark getting passed over for the Olympic roster earlier this year was already controversial enough. People were asking how the most talked-about player in the country didn't make the cut. That snub felt personal. And now this jersey stunt, it's starting to feel like a pattern. Now, we've heard the usual arguments. Well, maybe someone else on the team already wears 22. Nope, not the case. The number's just sitting there and used, which makes this even more absurd. It's not about logistics. It's about control. And that's what makes Clark's response so significant. She didn't issue a vague statement. She didn't post a cryptic emoji on Instagram. She threatened to leave. That's the kind of line in the sand move that shakes organizations to their core. Because what happens if she really does walk? Let's be honest. Team USA loses more than just a player. They lose the player. The one who would have brought a whole new audience to the table. The one broadcasters were already building highlight packages around. The one with reach. Clark brings something even the best coaches can't teach. Cultural capital. And Team USA was about to fumble it over jersey drama. You could almost feel the panic ripple through the system when the story hit. Because as she walks away, it becomes more than a headline. It becomes a referendum on how women in sports are treated when they gain real power. And let's not forget, Clark didn't ask for this fight. She just wanted to rep her country in her number. She wanted to play, to win, to add another chapter to her already legendary career. But she wasn't going to do it while letting the organization erase part of her identity. You can't build stars and then punish them for shining too bright. This whole thing also exposes how unprepared certain organizations are for this new era of athlete empowerment. We've moved beyond the days where players are just happy to be called up. Today's athletes are brands. They're CEOs of their own identities. They know their worth. And if governing bodies can't keep up, they get left behind. Clark's refusal to wear 17 isn't petty. It's professional. It's a move rooted in principle, not pride. She knows what her number means. She knows what it took to make that number mean something. And she's not letting anyone take that away. Not even for a spot on the world's biggest stage. It also forces a broader conversation. Who gets to decide what matters in sports culture? The athlete or the institution? Because for too long, athletes, especially women, have been told to be grateful, to comply, to not make waves. But we're seeing more and more of them stand up and say, actually, no. Clark is doing just that. And whether you love her, hate her, or still haven't watched the full game, you have to respect the stand she's taking. She's putting her legacy where her mouth is. And she's risking short-term opportunity for long-term. Now the ball is in Team USA's court, literally and figuratively. Do they issue a quiet apology and give her 22 back? Do they double down and risk becoming the poster child for out-of-touch sports leadership? Either way, the damage is done. The story is out. The world is watching. And the message has already been sent. You can't treat star athletes like interchangeable parts and expect no one to notice. Because people are noticing. Young athletes are watching. Fans are rallying. Brands are paying attention. And the ripple effect could be massive. If Clark stands her ground and Team USA folds, that sets a precedent. Not just in basketball, but across all women's sports. It tells future stars, you don't have to sacrifice who you are to fit someone else's idea of how you should do that. That's powerful. So, where do we go from here? Well, Team USA has a choice. Do they cling to control and risk losing the most bankable player in women's basketball? Or do they evolve, recognize that this isn't 2005 anymore, and start treating their athletes like the fully formed, brand-savvy powerhouses they are? Whatever happens, one thing's clear. Caitlin Clark isn't backing down. Not for a jersey number. Not for a team spot. And definitely not for an outdated system that still thinks athletes should just know their place. So if you're still here, let's talk about it. And honestly, can we just take a second to acknowledge how ridiculous this even had to become? We're not talking about contract negotiations or international politics. We're talking about a jersey number. A number that's sitting and used. A number that doesn't belong to anyone else. A number that should have been a no-brainer. Yet somehow, it spiraled into a full-blown media storm, potentially costing Team USA its biggest draw. It's wild. This moment is showing us just how deep the disconnect runs between players and governing bodies, between progress and old systems that refuse to change, between the athletes who are the sport and the people trying to tell them how to exist within it. And look, this isn't a rant about tradition being bad. There's value in legacy, in team dynamics, in the structure that makes international competition function. But when structure starts to suffocate individuality, when it starts punishing the very players who are putting the sport on the map, that's where it becomes a problem. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Caitlin Clark's presence on Team USA would have been a game changer, not just for the scoreboard, but for the entire narrative. She brings in new fans, new sponsors, new energy. She gets people talking about women's basketball who weren't paying attention before. And that's everything for a sport that's still fighting for coverage, airtime, and funding. So why make her choose between representing her country and honoring her identity? Why force her to shrink to fit into a mold that was never built for someone like her in the first place? It's the same tired formula we've seen play out again and again, especially with women in sports. The system says, we want you, but what it really means is, we want our version of you. And Clark, to her credit, isn't playing along. She's not letting the moment be bigger than her principles. She's not chasing a medal if it means compromising what she stands for. And that takes guts. It also takes confidence, because she knows what she brings to the table. She knows that her number isn't just a number. It's part of the brand she spent years building. It's a symbol of her journey, her resilience, her dominance on the court. And now, it's a symbol of resistance. You think fans are going to forget this? Not a chance. This story is already being etched into the larger narrative of Clark's career. Years from now, people will still be talking about the time she risked a Team USA spot over the number 22 and what that stand represented. It's legacy defining in the boldest way possible. And maybe that's what makes this so compelling. It's not just about rules and rosters. It's about someone refusing to be diminished. It's about an athlete saying, I know what I've done. I know what I've earned. And I'm not going to pretend otherwise just to make you comfortable. That kind of clarity, that kind of unwavering commitment to identity, that's rare. And it's exactly why Caitlin Clark has so many people in her corner right now. People are tired of seeing women in sports get dismissed, diminished, and dictated to. This moment, this very public rejection of a quiet power grab, isn't just about Clark. It's about what she represents, a new generation of athletes who won't play small just to get along. So here's the bottom line. If Team USA doesn't figure this out fast, they're not just going to lose a star player. They're going to lose the trust of an entire fan base. They're going to send a message that power matters more than people, that tradition matters more than progress. And in this era of athlete-led movements, of personal brands and global followings, that kind of stance isn't just outdated, it's unsustainable. So yeah, Caitlin Clark said no. Loudly, publicly, unapologetically. Now all eyes are on Team USA. Because the clock's ticking. And if they're not careful, they're about to learn the hard way. When you try to erase a symbol, you only make it stronger. Let us know where you stand. Should Clark hold the line? Did Team USA fumble its biggest opportunity? Drop your take in the comments. Like the video if you're here for athletes owning their narrative. And hit that subscribe if you're not ready to look away from this chaos just yet. Because if this is the future of women's basketball, we're watching.